Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to a player performance review segment for the 1920 season. With the season now concluded, we're going to run the rule over individual performances, and the first of tonight's triple header, it's the turn of our club captain, Seamus Coleman. Terry and Paul, like I say, join me for this. We'll start with you, Terry. How do you think Seamus has played this season?
He's had a bit of a weird one, Seamus, hasn't he? Like, we went into the season probably thinking, well, I know I did, thinking he's winding up a little bit now, like he's going to transition, much like Leighton Baines did with Luca Dean, into being the second choice right back. Could still happen, but it didn't happen this season. Like, we brought Djibril Sidibe in, and at the beginning of the season, for me, Sidibe would have been an automatic starter. Under Marco Silva and the way Marco Silva played and this formation he played, I didn't see what Coleman offers anymore. He couldn't get up and down the pitch anymore like he used to. His legs hadn't gone per se, but he just lost that edge of acceleration to get him past the man, which he used to rely on quite a lot. And his final ball, I thought, got a lot worse. So I was basically thinking we got to play Sidibe, and for that price, Sidibe's price, I want to buy him. I think it's nailed on. But then as the season went on, and when we changed manager, Coleman had a sort of like a second wind, and he transformed and adapted his game into being this right back / right centre back of a three, which is, Carlo Ancelotti came in. Remember the very first game that he played, Carlo's first game against Burnley. I remember watching it and thinking, because obviously we lined up 4-4-2 as we did in the previous games under Duncan. But Coleman was tucked in as a back three, and Luca Dean had pushed up. And I was thinking, this is new. It was the very first thing I noticed. And since we've switched to that sort of, fluid, change at the back, Seamus Coleman has now gone from, probably needs to be phased out to, I think he's the first choice right back until we get an absolute quality replacement. I think he's put extra seasons on his Everton career because he's much more effective, especially after the lockdown in the games where, apart from the obvious games where the whole team was awful. After the lockdown, he was really effective. He pocketed Mane in the derby, the 0-0. I thought he if we're going to roll like that, if we're going to play 4-4-2 but have the right back be sort of like a defensive-minded right back and he'll push Luca Dean up, then I think Seamus Coleman has got a big role to play in that because he's turned himself into a better defender than an attacker, which was not the case of the rest of his career.
That's an interesting point because, I think from an attacking perspective, I've been very disappointed in Seamus Coleman this season, and I know he is on the wane in that respect, but I still don't like his ambition at times. I think he lacks ambition going forward these days. I don't think he looks for enough forward passes, but on the defensive side of things, like you say, I think he's been a hell of a lot better than he has been in the past. Paul, what about you, mate? What do you think?
I feel quite differently to Terry, to be honest. This season has just, for me, rubber stamped that Coleman doesn't have much use at all anymore. Really, I've lost a lot of respect for Coleman this season, on the pitch as a player and off the pitch as a captain. But if Sidibe would have been any good, basically, then Coleman wouldn't have got a sniff this season. Because
Sidibe's not adequate defensively, we know that.
Yeah. If Sidibe would have been good enough that people were saying we're going to buy him, then he'd have played 30 games, started 30 games easily. Coleman, I don't think, has anything really to offer anymore. All right, he's had a few good defensive performances here and there, but so do even the most limited defenders.
Well, I was about to say, he's doing what Tony Hibbert was doing, and even Tony Hibbert was better at passing forwards than what I've seen from Coleman this year.
Coleman's no Tony Hibbert, do you know what I mean? I will give him that, but just because a player can do the basics defensively when they're a fullback doesn't suddenly mean that they've got this second wind, in my opinion at least. I don't really want to be seeing Seamus Coleman much in the future unless we've got an injury crisis or whether we've just got a meaningless game in a cup or something, and he's just one of the players who we decide to give a run out to. But Seamus Coleman, no, I don't believe personally that he's put years on his Everton career. I'll differ with Terry on that. I think that if we can get an half-decent right back in the summer, then I wouldn't be at all sad if Coleman's moved on or if he's just relegated to a complete bit part role. I'll put it this way. If John Joe Kenny comes back to the club and he isn't sold, then I would much rather see John Joe Kenny as our right back next season than Coleman. I think Kenny has more to offer than Coleman does at this stage.
I actually agree with you on this one, Paul, because I think we've done a few shows recently, me and you, Terry, and I think I probably made it quite clear that I'm a bit of a detractor of Seamus Coleman. And I am keen to see either John Joe Kenny or preferably a new right back take on that role. We need someone more dynamic. I think we spoke about his physicality maybe being on the wane, getting forward, and that second wind, his acceleration and whatnot. But I think it's also a big problem with his mentality as well. I don't think he's ambitious enough to. He doesn't necessarily have to bomb forward and join attacks, but he needs to pick a forward pass, and I don't think he can do it. I think there's so many times where, as bad as Jibril Sidibe has been defensively, he'll pick the ball up and try and pass forwards at least. And I just think it's for someone who's supposed to be the club captain and supposed to be a bit of a leader. I just think he doesn't lead by example. He passes backwards, and I think that kind of thing has seeped into the whole team in that respect.
Yeah, I wouldn't call him like a coward or anything. I wouldn't put him in the same bracket as like a Sigurdsson.
No, he's not like a Sigurdsson.
No, he's not like that. As in, like, he just gets on the ball and he wants rid of it straight away because he's petrified or he can't be bothered. I just don't think he's got it in him anymore. Really don't. I think he's at this point in his career really struggling to stay at the level that's required of a Premier League fullback. Yeah. At least in my opinion, he is.
No, so, I'm very much with you on that, and I think Terry nailed it before that losing his acceleration and his speed that was probably his most crucial attribute to getting forward and getting past players.
He's lost his wings.
Yeah, precisely.
And if we're going to do a bit more of what Terry mentioned, where Carlo plays like the kind of the tucked in right back type of role thing, I'd rather see Holgate do that, to be honest, and have another centre half in the middle with a Keane or a Mina. Or maybe Branthwaite, if Branthwaite hangs around. Obviously, we're all desperate to see a new centre-half come in and a new centre-mid. But if we're going to play this sort of hybrid three at the back, then I don't want to see Coleman in that, personally.
I think Holgate actually might be very well suited to that kind of role. I think we speak about Holgate being like the right centre-back in a back three. But, I mean, that's kind of what we shift to when we have that sort of versatile formation that Carlo uses.
Yeah, because Holgate's got a bit of pace and can take the ball forward a little bit and be the ball-playing centre-half, whereas what Coleman's going to do, basically, is just try and make sure no one gets in behind him, really. But there's two other centre-halves who are doing that, you'd imagine. So if one of them's going to be a new centre-half and Keane or Mina, if one of them hangs around, which I imagine at least one of them will. So, yeah, Seamus Coleman, I don't want to be too hard on him. He's a long-term player. I do believe he gives it his best in every game. I just don't think his best is good enough really anymore. So if he stays at the club, then I really want it to be just in a bit part role.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the one thing that also makes me a bit, of a detractor of Coleman's is we've had some terrible performances recently and the sound bites. I mean, I'm not.
Shut up, Seamus. Yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting, but that really annoys me. That when that came out a few weeks ago, I saw a lot of Evertonians who were like, "Oh, my captain with loads of blue hearts. He gets it. He's talking for the fans. He's speaking from the heart."
But he's done this 100 times in the last couple of years.
I've got no doubt he means what he's saying, but he's got no right to be saying it. He has played under 8 Everton managers, if you include caretakers. He's played under Moyes, he's played under Martinez, he's played under Koeman, he's played under Unsworth, he's played under Allardyce, he's played under Silva, he's played under Ferguson, and now he's played under Ancelotti. Now, I'm not saying he's one of the ones who's down tools on these managers, but he certainly hasn't gone out of his way to lead by example under all those managers and be the shining light during a dark time. A week after he was given that interview at Wolves saying, "Oh, it's not good enough, some of these players don't care," he was dragged off less than an hour. What was that? The game after Wolves?
Aston Villa. Well, that was where
Villa. Yeah, he was dragged off after an hour.
Brought Sidibe on for him, and I went. I mean, Jibril Sidibe's not great, but he brought Sidibe on, and I was like, "Oh my God, we've got a right back passing forwards here," and that was it was infuriating me watching him in that Villa game because, I was expecting a response from him, given that it was a much more feisty talk than what it normally was, but it still didn't bring the response that we expected.
Yeah, so the point I'm trying to ram home is even if he can't really contribute much on the pitch as a player anymore, I don't think he's got anything to offer as a captain, really, because you look at someone like Gerrard when he was winding down as a player for Liverpool in that final season or two, he was still very much the club captain, the leader of the dressing room. He was having a big influence off the pitch on players, and I don't think Coleman does. And even if he tries hard and he means what he's saying in all these interviews, it's old hat now, and it was old hat a long time ago. No one's interested, or people shouldn't be interested because nothing ever comes of it. So,
there's not many players who are allowed to say these kind of things. It's only players who are delivering consistently who are allowed to make those kind of comments. And I mean, I know you can be a captain and be a poor player, but there's got to be a point where you deliver on what you're saying yourself. That's where you command the respect of the dressing room as well as a captain.
Exactly. So yeah, basically, I've seen all I want to see of Seamus Coleman in an Everton shirt. That's all I want to say. Don't want to be horrible about him. I don't want to see him kind of thrown out the club coldly and not given any sort of praise at all, because he has done well for the majority of his time at Everton. But I think the time is nigh for Coleman to leave, or at least just be relegated to the background completely.
Yeah, I think very much agree with you on that. I mean, Terry, what do you think? I know me and Paul have had a bit of a Coleman bashing fest there. I don't know if you want to say your piece, because I know you're a bit more pro Coleman than us two are.
I wouldn't say I was pro Coleman. I just think with this slight shift of formation and this new role, I think he's got a little bit more in the tank than I would have thought. Because I think he suits that sort of right back tucked in role more than he suits the going forward right back. Now, that's not to say we don't replace him. I actually don't think Holgate would work there. I know it seems like he would, but they don't play as a third centre back the whole match. They play too much as a right back for Holgate. I think that'd be a waste of him. But I agree that he probably should at this point be sort of like Baines, like I said earlier. He probably is about time he's sort of replaced by a better player, but he's still there, to provide competition and support and what have you. But just reading, between the lines on the pitch, I think he's definitely been identified as one of Carlo's men. So I think he will probably still see a lot of him. You'll notice that when the club are putting out the targets they want, it's centre back, centre midfielder, and right midfielder. Oh, and if we sell John Joe Kenny, we might get a right back. I think we're going to get another loan for another right back, even if Kenny does go, because I think they're happy with Coleman for now, and they'll address the right back probably next summer, and rather than try and do it all at once. I mean, something we haven't touched on, because obviously we've made our points of what we think the future for Coleman is just there's some keystones in the season. I felt that earlier in the season that the senior players were letting Marco Silva down, like the young players away from home, like the Calvert-Lewins and Richarlisons and what have you. They weren't the ones getting sent off. It was always Schneiderlin and Coleman, by mistake. So Coleman got himself sent off early in the season in a key away game, and he was stood in the tunnel, if you remember, just folding his arms, looking like he was pissed off, and just like, I wasn't happy with that from a club captain's point of view. It's like, you got yourself sent off needlessly, mate. You've let your manager down. You've let the team down. And not long after that was the infamous Andre Gomez injury, where I think he lost a lot of fans on this day when he went into the dressing room for Heung-min Son.
Yeah, that was appalling.
He deliberately done Gomez. Now, obviously, he didn't deliberately mean to break his ankle or what have you, but it was highlighted after the game. Nearly every media outlet just said, "Oh no, it's he's not that sort of boy," except all the times that he is that have been highlighted.
Yeah, he kicked Rudiger like a couple of weeks after he done one to a Bournemouth
player.
He
100% is that type of boy. He's deliberately fouled a lot of people, and he caught a flailing arm off Gomez and went to do him, and then obviously I'm terrible at names. Serge
Aurier,
yeah, he's gone in on him as well, as he's been on the way down, and between them, they've injured them. If you look at Son, he's got like a grimace face when he's tackling Gomez. Besides the point, he's deliberately injured one of his teammates, and he went into him in the dressing room afterwards and consoled him. The Everton captain should have been trying to get at him to kill him. was not happy
Can
with
you
Coleman.
can you imagine Dave Watson or someone doing that?
Duncan Ferguson, anyone?
Dunkel.
It's just
Even Phil Neville, you'd never have seen Phil Neville do that.
it was just, I thought that was just media nonsense, basically. Oh, he's gone in and put his arm around Son. It's like, why? He's like, Luca Dean was trying to get at Pochettino that day. And that to me made me think I'd rather have Dean as the captain if that's the mentality.
Absolutely.
Now, obviously, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Coleman apparently is a very, very good captain, and captain's obviously a lot of off-the-field responsibility. So I'm not suggesting that he should be stripped of captaincy or anything like that. But I didn't like that sort of example to be set.
It was a very, like, it shows why we're a charitable club, and in the sense that we hand points to teams the same way we hand this.
Made us look a walkover.
Yeah.
And I was really disappointed in Coleman that day, and that was the day. Like, for me, I'm usually quite late to the party to turn on managers, and I don't think I turned on Silva that day, but that was a big, big moment for me where I was like, ugh, it's not what an Everton manager should be doing in this scenario. We should be coming out and fighting for the club, which Carlo immediately got when he stormed over to the referee when the goal.
Oh, the Manchester United, yeah.
Just showed you that. I think I said after that game, that's the difference between the two managers. I want the Everton manager to fight for the club, and I also want the captain to fight for the club. It's all well and good coming out, as Paul touched on before, and giving the same old rallying cry that they always give, and then seeing no change in performance. But that was just took the biscuit. That where he consoled an opposition player who's injured one of his teammates in a deliberate tackle. Like a tackle that
a vendetta tackle.
A vendetta tackle, yeah. It wasn't a deliberate injury, but it was a deliberate foul. Like, I'm trying to foul him to teach him a lesson, and he's, it's the risk that he's took has come in. So Coleman, I lost a lot of time for Coleman that day.
I definitely, I've lost. I mean, I wasn't pleased with, like you said, I've not been pleased with his performance this season, but I completely forgot about that, and now I realise at what point I started to lose respect for Seamus Coleman, it's a shame because he like Paul said, he has contributed brilliantly to the Everton cause for a long time, but I think he is washed up now, in my opinion, as an Everton player.
Probably.
Just the final thing about the captaincy thing. Being a good human being isn't a qualification to be a captain. Roy Keane is the most miserable, horrible bastard I've ever seen in football. But he is one of the greatest captains the Premier League has ever seen. Do you know what I mean? So Coleman being this nice fella behind the scenes who's really friendly to people does not mean he should be the leader out on the pitch. So I
think Terry's made that point himself. I think that it's not always an on the pitch thing. I think you say this regularly to me, Terry, that it's not an on the pitch role captaincy, but I don't think it matters. I think even off the pitch now, I'm starting to get the point that Paul's making here, is that even in the dressing room, you can't afford to instill this charitable mentality in your squad, and I think that rubs off even if it's not happening on the pitch. It probably gets instilled in players before they go onto the pitch.
Yeah, I'm just not into changing the captaincy like that, unless there's a real obvious. I've seen captaincies change, like, taken off one player and given to another, but there's usually like a very good, reason. Like, I don't know, like.
Well, Højbjerg lost it, didn't he, at Saints because he.
Yeah,
or
there's a really obvious one, like, Steven Gerrard got it off Sami Hyypiä, years ago, and Phil Neville got it off. Can't remember. Was it David
Weir? Yeah.
So where there's clearly a more suitable captain, but captain, when you look around our team, I'd like more leaders, and everyone mentions Holgate and players like that. It's fine having leaders. They don't need to be the captain, because the captain's got to do all kinds. The captain's got to book, player nights out. He's got to collect fines for lateness and all that. Your young players don't want to do that. Holgate doesn't want to walk around fining people. Coleman will do it all day. You can imagine him loving it, but I couldn't. It's different. Countries have got different roles for captains, so I would stop short of wanting Coleman to not be the captain, but I'd like when he comes out of the team. Say we buy a right back, Luca Dean, which obviously everyone hopes we do. sort of right back who goes into the team, and he's one of the better players. I'd like to see the captain on the pitch then go to not Gylfi Sigurdsson, someone else who's shown those fighting qualities on the pitch. It could be Luca Dean.
Speaking of Luca Dean, I think it could be him.
I like Luca Dean. Obviously, you don't know what the thoughts are behind the scenes. Whether he makes the right people. Whether he pleases the right people behind the scenes. But Holgate is another, as you say, is another one. I'd like to see the captain on the pitch / the new vice captain not be someone like a Sigurdsson, just an older player. I like to see it someone who sets the example, someone needs to
command respect. You've got to command respect, and for me, I don't think Seamus Coleman commands respect.
Well, no, he clearly doesn't, because he's given all these rallying cries over the years, and absolutely nothing's changed. So no, he doesn't.
But also he doesn't command respect from I think that was a very disrespectful thing to the club and the fans, to go and console Son. I think that was. I mean, we might be going a bit too into it here, but the fact that he didn't go and look out for his own teammate and would rather go and I don't know, he's had a broken ankle himself, and he's like, but surely that would make him side with Andre Gomez more, not the person who caused it.
Exactly.
Who knows? It just made me lose a little bit of luster for him. When he's done that, I was like, because everyone wanted him to be captain. Remember, after Jagielka for so many years, it was just a natural fit. But when he's done that, I was like, oh, maybe he's not this ideal Everton captain we thought he was, because he's badly misread the room when he did that. But I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's had a season of two halves, really. I think the second half of the season he's contributed a lot more than the first, but obviously for a lot of people, yourselves included, still hasn't contributed enough.
Yeah, precisely that. I mean, I think we'll leave it at that anyway. We'll go to our ratings out of 10. Terry?
5.
Paul?
I'm toying between 3 and 4. I'll give him a 4.
I'll give him a 3. Because I was going to give him a 4, and then that was before I was reminded of the Son incident, which has really boiled my blood to the point where I want to make it a 3. I mean, that really infuriates me now. I've remembered it again, because it's an insult to a teammate. I think that to not look out for him. That's not what you want in the dressing room. You want a tight-knit team where you look out for people, and you've got to look out for each other. And if you're not, then what kind of team spirit does that send around? And that's the captain, at the end of the day. It's just really disappointing. So, yeah, he's been downgraded from what was originally going to be a 4. He's now getting a 3 off me. So, yeah, there you go, guys. Clearly, not the most positive result for the club captain, Seamus Coleman. Nonetheless, let us know what you think, what you'd have given Seamus Coleman out of 10 for this season. Drop us a comment below. Give this video a like and subscribe for more Toffee Blues content. And until next time, thank you for tuning in on the Toffee Blues.